Listening to the Outdoor Drive Podcast.
All right, welcome back. We are back again with another episode that is episode 172. I know you guys could probably say it in your sleep when it comes back on, but this is your boy East Coast Trev, and joined by my good buddy Mr. Madman Mardik.
Oh shit, that's me.
Yeah. That's funny. Now, that is funny. For you guys that have been following along for a long time, probably know where that is from, but we'll leave that alone. So, it is, you know what, man? It's getting to that time of year. Deer season's winding down, and we're going to talk coyote hunting.
Ah, dude, I'm fired up.
Yeah.
I'm fired up after that one.
It was a good one, dude. We had, this is a good one with Mr. Jacob Johnson. Killer dude, Jacob Johnson.
You are terrible with
Terrible, names. Garrett Johnson.
Jesus
Damn.
Christ!
Just slap me across your face and call me your mama or grandma. I don't never mind, dude. I suck at this.
I got to start hosting again.
Not even a good host, dude. This is horrible. Oh, man. Whatever. So, anyways, we're going to talk about coyotes. It's getting to that time of year, guys. Fired up. Get on them fawn killers. You guys should have probably already been on them since, like, October, but instead you were deer hunting. It's an all-around, year-round sport, but, the trail cameras came out and all you saw was coyotes, so now you start thinking about coyote hunting.
And
we figured we'd help you out.
Nothing breaks up the monotony of grinding after deer than just going up and just shooting shit in the face,
It's definitely important.
Well... Oh, definitely important, but it's just fun, man. And, if you're, say you've been passing a lot of deer and, just being real selective and grinding, you're not selective with coyotes. Big, small, it don't matter.
It's right there with turkey hunting.
You just shoot them all.
Your neighbor shot your turkey. Yeah, big deal. Who cares? Congratulations. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
It's not important.
Yeah, we don't discriminate against coyotes. Just kill them all.
They all die. I mean, it's... We go through a lot of things with Garrett. It's a cool little podcast. Definitely fun, and especially to talk something a little bit different. I know he's a Western hunter, but a lot of it, when he goes through a lot of it, in my mind, I'm listening to it and I'm playing these scenarios in, and I'm like, okay, well, he's on the, he's in sagebrush, so that is like our pine trees or our greenbrier, or those. There's a lot of things that you can play back and forth. I mean, if you listen very closely to what he's saying, you can play it back to us and how we do and where we can do our hunting around ag, which is your open desert and so on and so forth. It's just cool. It's just a different world, man, and it's just fun, dude. Yeah. It's just something cool to talk about.
The other thing, too, is I've talked to a lot of, pretty big coyote hunters, and most people will tell you a coyote is a coyote is a coyote is a coyote. It doesn't matter. You can get in a piston match between eastern coyotes and western coyotes, but they're still the same animal, and the same thing triggers them. The biggest difference is the terrain and the vegetation and stuff like that. So, you can take all that information and just adapt it to your area.
No, it's so true. It's so true, no matter where it is.
Right.
The calling is still the same. The animal is still the same. It's just the trees that are around you that are a little bit different.
Absolutely.
It's definitely really cool. It's in coyote trapping, it's that too. I mean, there's some cool little tips and tricks in there for you guys that are trappers too. I mean, this man knows coyotes and dogs
he knows
and
what is coyotes.
Yeah, I mean, we've just hit the tips of the iceberg. We more or less got to know who Garrett was, and we'll probably have him on for another one to talk a little bit different. It's fun. Yeah. It's just a cool kickback, relax podcast as always.
I will say this too to the listeners: if you haven't coyote hunted before, I highly recommend giving it a try, because you will learn a shit ton just about being a hunter and an outdoorsman. And I can honestly speak for myself. I didn't really learn how to play the wind and how important the wind is and how to use the wind to predict deer movement and how to hunt deer using the wind until I started coyote hunting.
Right.
That's when I really figured out
the smartest predator that walks the face of
and how to set up based on the wind on that day for a coyote, how to predict where that coyote was going to show up because of the wind. And I'll be honest with you too, the first time I really started recognizing and understanding thermals was on a coyote set.
Right.
And if you're not a predator hunter, these next couple of months, you're not really in the woods. So this is a good chance to, continue your season, get out in the woods and learn something new. And like we all say, you're just helping the deer population anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the only other thing that you should be in the woods doing is getting ready for our squirrel competition, because that is coming up.
You've been scouting?
I mean, I'm always scouting squirrels. I mean, that's not a question. I mean, come the 1st of January, we're going to kick that squirrel competition. So leave that in the back of your mind, guys, and get ready for that. That's going to take part on our page, the Outdoor Drive Facebook page, and we're gonna do this again, dude. We're gonna do the biggest. We're gonna do the best, and we're gonna have some cool little categories, some cool giveaways, and it's just something a little bit different. We tried a coyote one, but that doesn't work because we don't have a lot of coyote hunters, and it just is what it is. But we're definitely going to have our squirrel competition. So that's probably the only thing else that you should be doing after deer hunting season. No questions about it.
Cool.
Well, why don't we go see our boy Manny for a little bit of sponsorship love?
Oi, you! Yeah, you! Put down that mug of Joe and get your lips wrapped round one of these bad boys. That's right. Nor'easter Game Calls. Give it a blow. Nor'easter Game Calls. Get 'em in close.
This winter, use Huntworth's Heat Boost products for impeccably warm body parts, guaranteed. Get more for less with Huntworth.
Vital Ground Outdoors. For all your climbing hardware needs. Amstel Mobile Hunting redefined with Vital Ground Outdoors. New Era Archery, home of the Zeus Broadheads as well as the Hera. Let the Zeus loose with New Era Archery. I would just like to thank our generous sponsors. Back over to you, Trevor.
I laugh every single time that I hear Manny talk
it.
about it. It makes me smile every single time.
Every time.
Never
gets old.
If you're not going and checking out our sponsors because of Manny, then you're a fool.
Listen to that does remind me though. And Garrett talks. His name's Garrett. Remember, he touches on this in this episode. You don't need a whole lot to coyote hunt. You can use your deer rifle that you already have, and get over to Nor'easter. Mark makes all you need is a basic coyote hand call. You don't have to go out and buy a $200
he
e-call.
makes like cool little squeaker toys.
All kinds of
collars.
Yep. But yeah, get a hold of Mark. Get a basic hand call, coyote hand call. Take your deer rifle, and that's all you need. You don't need to invest a ton of money into something that you've never even done before.
No, it's so true. And while you're at it, you know what? I'll plug it real quick, shameless plugs and stuff like that. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. Head on over to the website. Check that out. That's always good, theoutdoordrive.com. Also, if you guys are checking on iTunes, 5-star review, hit the subscribe button there. Tell a friend, so on and so forth. It just makes this thing a little bit better for everybody.
And the group. You talking about the group?
Oh, yeah, the group. You got to get on the group so we can have a killer's corner.
You want to do the Killer's Corner?
Yeah, good. Let's get these things going. I want to get
hey,
onto the podcast
we're
here, man.
We're getting down to the nitty-gritty.
Are we? All right, ninja boy.
Justin Lincoln with his Halloween buck. We got Cody Pride, killed his target buck. Ray
Duplessis.
You know all these guys. I don't know them. Sorry, Ray. Congratulations on your buck. Here's a good one. Alexandra Fagan getting after some muskrats, and she gets bonus points because she's rocking her Outdoor Drive hat in the picture.
Well, she's also coming to Massachusetts because she won the Ducks on the Bay duck hunt. So she'll be here January 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Really?
Sea duck hunting.
She's always active on the Facebook page and big in the squirrel competition last year.
For sure.
So she's a big supporter. So big shout out to you. Steven Carpenter laid down another one. Congratulations to him. Jeff Hankey, Idaho Mule Deer. Shane Smith, congratulations on your 11-pointer. Jimmy Brewer, Idaho Mountain Buck.
Was it a real 11-pointer or was it a spike buck?
No, a real 11-pointer.
Oh, okay.
Not 11-pointers you shoot.
Oh, okay.
Brad Jarvis on his track job buck in the snow.
That was a beautiful buck.
Beautiful buck. And fun fact about Brad Jarvis, did you know he also has a love for midget wrestling?
He's a midget wrestler.
He's a midget wrestler himself, yep. And then last but not least, our boy John Phelan with his nice buck. He had a real tough track job on that one, but he stuck it out and recovered his buck, and it was a beautiful buck too.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
He's having a hell of a season, man. He killed
all
that
those
big bear.
Toothless bear, yeah, that old warrior.
Yeah.
No, that thing was old.
I think it had cancer.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yep.
But anyways.
That's the cool shit that you see when you start doing skulls, you know what I mean? Like, you start getting into it and you start seeing different stuff.
So, actually, it's funny that you say that. So, we had John's that had the messed up front teeth, and then it had, like, cancer. It looked like it got shot. And that was a real cool one. I also had one the other day that that it had an antler growing out of its eye, the top of its eye.
Separated, though.
Separated. So, it had its regular antlers, and then it had a pedicle coming off the top of his eye. That one was pretty cool. And then there was another one, which is a pretty cool buck. It has a fork on one side, and then it has like a drop tine on the other side. But it was like sitting like an arm socket, right? So it actually was never attached to the skull, and it was like a ball and socket. Because I had picked it up, and I was about to skin it, and the antler started to move. And I'm like, dude, what the hell? So I messaged the dude, and I was like, hey, man, did this thing get hit by a car or what happened to it? He's like, no, nothing. He goes, I shot it. It was in the field. He goes, I don't know what happened to it. He's like, can you like epoxy it, put it all back together? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. I said, if it's broken in the skull cap, I have no idea what I'm going to end up doing. But I said, I'll skin it out, see what it looks like. So I end up skinning it out, and I noticed that the antler was actually like a ball and socket, dude. It just sat there. It never grew into the thing. I don't know what happened, or it was once attached and then grew out, and then it like broke off, but it was like a ball and socket. It's so weird.
Yeah.
So doing the skulls, you get to see some cool things like fanged.
Right.
I usually get 1 or 2 fanged deer, and I didn't get any fanged deer this year, which is kind of weird. But
that one with the ball and socket, though, when you get that finish, you're going to have to reach out to the hunter and ask him if you can permission to post it up on the page, because you need to share that.
It's so cool.
Yeah, I've never seen anything
something
like
really
that.
cool. And so I had put the antler right into the beetles and cleaned it just to make sure. And that's exactly what it is, dude. It was definitely wild, but you get to see some really cool things when you have the beetles and you're doing that kind of stuff. You always get a couple oddballs, and those are the oddballs so far. Who knows what else we'll end up getting? There's some big bucks this year too, man. Like a pile of big deer this year, and it's I don't know. It's nice to see. Nice to see some good, successful hunts, and a lot more than normal. But well, bro, what do you think, dude? Let's get on over. Let's get Garrett on, because that's a podcast you guys definitely want to hear.
I'm excited. If it wasn't going to rain tomorrow, I'd do a coyote set in the morning.
Right?
I think I'm
Let's
I'm
get you
ready.
jacked
I'm ready.
up.
Yeah.
You're definitely going to learn a lot about it. So, well, let's go see our boy Garrett, and let's get this thing underway. All right, we're back with Garrett Johnson. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, guys.
Well, let's turn the key, dude. We'll put it right into overdrive. Why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about what you do.
All right, I'm Garrett Johnson, and I'm from central Utah. Lived here my whole life, country boy through and through. Got the whole story. I mean, a lot of people that are going to listen to this already probably know me. Some won't, but grew up loving the outdoors, hunting mule deer mainly. Grew up a small town called Marysville, Utah. My family owned a dairy farm. That's what I grew up doing, and grew up loving horses and, just anything to do with getting in the hills. I'm a sheetrocker by trade. I own my own company. I've had I haven't had a lot of different avenues in my life, but I have been a beer salesman and a sheetrocker, basically, is the only 2 things I've done. So, and I'm damn good at both of them. So that's it. And then coyotes, man. The passion for coyotes has gotten me to the place where I'm at right now, talking to you guys. I think, is what intrigues you guys, and you're the people that follow you is probably mainly my coyote hunting. Other than that, I'm pretty boring. So
you struck me as kind of like a cowboy more or less than anything, being from the West and whatnot. Not a sheetrocker by any means, dude.
Wannabe cowboy.
Oh, okay. There's a lot of those. We have a lot of those here.
Especially since Yellowstone.
I'll the cowboy hat and the Wranglers and bullshit with the best of them. But as far, I team rope. I know how to throw a rope, and I know how to do a few things, but a dairy farmer, I'm not a rancher. I understand my way around cattle and horses and things like that, but I don't brag about it. I don't call myself a cowboy. Um, I enjoy trying to be a cowboy.
That's everybody now that Yellowstone is out and on the market.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But
I could only imagine.
I'd like to think that I could ranch and throw a rope and be around horses a little bit better than some of those guys.
Yeah. I'd imagine they probably do, honestly. So you said mule deer hunting. That's a whole different realm than what we're used to, anyways. Like a lot of like spotting and stalking and glassing, and that's got to be insane.
Well, I mean, it's totally different than what you guys got to deal with. You know, I'm still to this day have yet to set a trail camera. I mean, a lot of these guys do. It's not how I roll. I don't have anything against it. It's just, you know, if I knew there was a good buck in the area, I'd go watch that buck before the bow hunt started, and I would keep my eye on him and know his patterns. And just from sitting up on the hillside and watching what he does every morning and putting him to bed and watching him that evening and things like that, that's kind of the hunter I was and am. I enjoy just sitting on top of a hill, setting up my tripod and just scanning country. And you know, I was a big game guide for about 7 years of my life. Got really burned out on that also. It ended up just being a babysitting job, really, is what it came down to. And I was too young to understand and cotter to these wealthy gentlemen that I would take out. And it just got to be where it became way too much of a job, not, you know, and it just burned me out. And I didn't want to do any, you know, big game hunting really anymore. And what was funny about that whole deal is I actually got reprimanded by the ranch owner that I worked for, because one of the guys told on me, because we would go out and every, you know, after we were done hunting, I would just turn it into a coyote hunt. Hey man, you want to go over this hill and pop over and go kill some coyotes, you know? And I would talk the guys into going, and it ended up being kind of a deal where my boss ended up getting pretty mad at me, because he's like, you can't fucking do that, dude. You gotta stay grinding and kill these elk and kill these deer, you know, for these guys. They've spent a lot of money. They don't want to be here hunting coyotes. And I was like, fuck them, you know, I don't want to hunt coyotes. Like, I'm done, you know? So it was just, it was one of those deals. Yeah. So that's Garrett Johnson, really, is just a scatterbrained kid.
But through and through, you're obviously thick in your blood is coyote hunting, obviously, the predator aspect of it.
Yeah, 100%. You know, ever since, well, I was 15 years old the first time that I watched a coyote get called in. It was by my father-in-law. I still call him my father-in-law. He's my ex-father-in-law now, but guy's like my dad. So he was the one that got me set in that path, and I can remember. This is weird for me to talk because I do a lot of podcasts, so I've said these things so many times. But I mean, there are people that you have that haven't heard this, but I didn't even know a rabbit made a sound. Like, I was a young kid, and we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have anything like that. You know, I'm in my 40s, and just like, we didn't have those avenues that, you know, the younger crowd has, and that. So I had no idea that a rabbit made a sound. You know what I mean?
Right.
Until I shotgunned one time when we would just go out bunny bashing, and I was like, holy shit, they really do scream like that, you know? Like, it just blew my mind. I was like, no way they make a sound like that. So it ended up just being like that, and then snowball effect. And I just I called in a pair of coyotes by myself and had no shots fired, run me over, and that's where the passion started getting really fueled. Was like, oh my gosh, this is a real deal. These guys, and then I got asking around, and I got looking at some things, and I remember going to a pawn shop and seeing a Randy Anderson VHS tape, and I flipped it over, and this dude's just got coyotes lined up all over this old farmhouse, and I'm like, how and why? And so I bought it, and then I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is crazy. And then Les Johnson and those two guys really just set me in the path of, you know, my style. Really, I took the howling aspect and the vocalizations from Randy, because there were coyotes here that we couldn't talk to through a rabbit or distress call, and so you had to talk to them a different way. And I started doing that, and then I I stole from Les Johnson the style of laying back in the brush and just being tight with my hand call, just, right here with my shotgun over my lap and my rifle. That was all because of him. I didn't know that was possible, and I didn't know that it's no different from anybody that's learned from me. It's just cool. I mean, just some of those guys, and that definitely wasn't the style that I tried to mimic, and I did, and then I had to make up my own. I had to start my own because the coyotes were still untouchable. So I had to figure some things out and do some things. And trapping really was a big like helper, I guess, is just understanding the borders, understanding where they mark their territories, understanding their movements and things like that. My uncle taught me how to trap when I was really young, and I just took to it. I loved it. Anything I could do, just kneeling in the dirt, digging in the dirt, setting a trap, smelling the cedar, just being out there was the only thing that really got my mind settled, because I have ADHD and I don't do well inside schools and being told what to do. I always wanted to be out on my own, and that was just where I wanted to be, and that's what I wanted to do. So yeah, that's Garrett.
I can definitely agree to that, because that's my problem too. Most of my life, I did not do well in school. Like, I had told one of my teachers I was going to become a professional fisherman and hunter, and they're like, "You can't do that for a living." And I just want to send them all letters. That's what I wanted. I just want to send them all letters with pictures, honestly. But I get it. There's nothing better than that, dude. Like, and people, I think, honestly, in today's world, I think a lot of people don't understand what it's like. Like, they don't get it. They just don't understand what that life is really honestly all about. They really honestly don't.
Well, I joke around. I was born 100 years too late, no doubt. I want to be on the back of a horse, and I want to have my skins laid over the back of the horse and come home to my barefoot pregnant wife. I'm just weird like that. I really enjoy the thought of that. I love to entertain the thought of that, and that's a lot of the reason why I call myself a wannabe cowboy, is just because I love to be on the back of a horse. I love to be pushing cows. Just anything I can do that is like the old days, I really, really enjoy.
Yeah, then don't come to New England. You definitely do not want to be on the East Coast. I can promise you that is not the place for you.
Don't get me wrong. I love the amenities and all the things that we have now, and the capabilities of all kinds of things that we have. I'm not like an introvert that just sits and doesn't understand things. I mean, but if I could go back and could do it differently, I would definitely go back in time.
Yeah, and hopefully the world turns back into that, honestly, like the trade and barter and all that stuff, because guys like us will definitely survive. Like,
we will. You'll see it.
Yeah.
We might not see it, but you'll see it. Somebody will see it.
I thought, honestly, in the past couple of years, it probably was going to turn into that, and I was like, oh, we're on top of the food chain here, because everybody, they all went back to, I don't know how it is there, but like here, like farm fresh, everybody's growing their own meat and this, that, and the other thing. And then, for umpteen years before that, everybody had talked crap about us, like, oh, you guys are hunters and you guys kill your own animals and your own meat and this, that, and the other thing. And now everybody's doing what we're doing, and they're all asking us questions about it. And it's like,
they all want fresh venison, fresh elk, like you wouldn't believe. Like, it's just such a thing to live off the land now. It's just like, I've been here my whole fucking life, guys. Now you're finally getting it. There is a lot that has to be said about the richness of an elk meat. You go from eating store bought. This might be just me, I don't know, but I can go from eating store bought beef and then move over and eat nothing but like some cow elk that I killed for strictly meat purposes. All of a sudden I'll have gout in my big toe. I'll be like, what the fuck? Because it's so rich and it's so good for you, and it's crazy. There's a huge difference. You feel better. I don't know if it's all in your mind or what, but you just feel better because you did that, and you cut that up, and that to me is what I really love. And everybody's like, oh, you're going to eat that. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm going to eat that. Like, I owe it to that animal. I'm not one of those guys that's like, don't. Because, of course, I kill 40 some coyotes in a couple days, and we leave them piled up and we strip the hides. We don't eat them coyotes, like that's just what it is. I mean, we don't take it to that extreme. Some people want you to take it to that extreme, especially these guys that jump on my Instagram and, oh, you can eat that, blah, blah, blah. This is just murder, blah, blah, blah. And, everybody's got their own opinion, but you got to draw a line in the sand somewhere. If, there's elk and then there's coyotes. What am I going to eat? Of course, I'm going to eat the grass, the one that's been eating grass and not eating shit and trash.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why we eat elk and why we eat beef and we don't eat coyotes and whatnot.
Absolutely. Look, trapping animals too. Like that, you don't really. A lot of them were just fur-bearing animals that you would use them for trapping. So we trap a lot of beavers here, and beavers good eating. But it takes 3 hours to prep it to where it needs to be edible. You know what I'm saying? Like it's good, but it's not. It's not my choice cut. It's really not. You try it or whatever. And I was gonna ask you if you tried coyote because some people do, but I can't get my.
I've tried bobcat and mountain lion. I've yet to try coyote. I will do it one day. It'll have to be the right coyote, and it'll have to be the right situation. I will definitely have to have a lot of beer in me.
True to that.
That's the same way we ate the bobcat, was at a party, after we've been hunting. But, I don't know. We get off on tangents, and then I end up forgetting what the hell we were even talking about.
It's all good. Was the mountain lion any good?
Hell no. It
Really?
tastes like a goddamn kitty litter box. Like I could just taste cat. You could taste cat like a cat smells. Like I don't know. I just don't.
Yeah.
I just don't like it. It's like my turkeys. I kill 1 or 2 turkeys a year, and we eat them. We brine them. They definitely have to be processed and put together in something a lot different than a butterball.
Right.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah. Of course they do. But when I eat that turkey, I genuinely love it. I genuinely love wild turkey, but I don't want to eat that turkey all the time. Like, you know what I mean? I typically would only eat turkey once or twice a year anyway.
Right.
But if I had to live off of it, damn right I'd live off of it. I mean, I'd kill whatever I could, absolutely. But do I want to eat wild turkey over a butterball?
No.
Fuck no.
No. So, let's take it back to the start of, obviously, like your trapping and coyotes and stuff like that. So like when you had started, you were obviously watching Les and those guys, and then you kind of curved it into your own thing. What did you take from those guys and start on your own to kind of start your own Garrett Johnson style of coyote hunting?
So it wasn't a social media thing still for me. The social media thing came way down the line. I was actually really, really late to social media. I didn't have Facebook or anything like that. My first social media was Instagram, and I think I did start it in 2015. A friend told me about it, and I ended up getting it going, and then had some other people advise me on what I needed to do and how you needed to do it, and then it went like wildfire. And then I had pet coyotes. And I had a catching of a badger video and a few things that went viral. So it made me grow a page and stuff like that, But what was your question again? Sorry.
Well, hold on. We can't skip over these pet coyotes.
Yeah.
Like you just brushed right over that like it was nothing. I want to hear about that.
So, yeah, I mean, I learned a lot from those coyotes.
Yeah, I bet.
Would I ever do it again? No, not at all. I would never do that again because I have too much respect for coyotes. It was very unfair for those coyotes to feel like they were trustworthy of human beings, and they weren't caged up. They ran around I had a big spread, and they would just run wild. And the one of them ended up getting killed. The other one, I'm not sure where he went or where he ended up, but the female ended up getting killed in a real brutal manner. But the only reason I had found out about it is because it was one of my daughter's friends that had done it. He was just a young kid, didn't know any better. He wanted to kill a coyote, came out and killed my coyote, hauled it right to the four-wheeler. I mean, it's of course it's going to come to people because it has trust in humans because it's been fed by humans. It's been coddled by humans ever since before its eyes were even open. And she got shot at point blank range. And ever since then, I really just regret ever doing that because of that reason, you know. And even if that wouldn't have happened, it still just wasn't fair. They're wild animals for a reason. They need to stay that way. You're never gonna take the wild out of a coyote. You're gonna take it out of them a little bit, but it's just not something that needs to be done. Foxes, badgers, any of this stuff, it's all just for social media presence now, and it's all just for show. And um, at the time, mine wasn't. It was to genuinely learn more about their ways. Recording sounds, I really was wanting to record my own sounds and be able to call coyotes in with my coyote sounds, which I did, and I sell and recorded some awesome sounds. There's other guys that put a lot more time and energy into it, and I just, I don't need to get in that pool because I know what goes into trying to record a coyote sound, and it's just not right. In my opinion, it's just not right. I'm not going to stop playing those sounds. Am I going to think about how those sounds were made a little bit more? Probably. Absolutely. But were there sounds that I made that my coyote was not in any sort of distress at all? Absolutely. Majority of my sounds were pestering my coyotes or pitting my coyotes against each other when they were ornery, understanding their body language. They're just like anybody else or any other animal. They have mood swings, and you capitalized on that and you record it, and it was a lot of fun. Just understanding what a coyote would do instinctually was the funnest part. Like I would come home off the truck from a long day selling beer, and some people would give me like scrap food to feed them, because I knew that they needed a raw meat diet. I mean, dog food's not good. Your dog needs raw meat. That's just what they need, and if you can afford it and do it, that's great. But anyway, my coyotes, I felt like they needed that more than your dog at home, and for good reason. I mean, these coyotes' eyes had just barely opened. Were just barely. I mean, I was still milking them with a bottle, and they barely had their little puppy teeth, little sharp puppy teeth coming through. And I had caught a mouse underneath the haystack, and I had both of them, and I showed it to them, and they literally ripped it in half and engulfed that mouse that quick. And I was like, holy shit, this is like primal for them. Like this is what they do. It's so ingrained in them. It's wild, man. It's so crazy to watch. But going back to the food thing, this is the most mind-blowing thing that I had ever experienced. But they will gourd themselves. They will take. So when they come to the carcass at night, and these guys are killing them off the dead pits and whatnot, what the coyote is doing there is he's gourding himself. He doesn't know where he's going to get his next meal from. So if he sees a meal, he's going to gourd himself until my pups' stomachs would be literally swollen. And I was like, what are you going to do? Like, you're so sick you can't even walk. Well, I would watch them because they were all natural. They weren't caged or anything. They would leave, and they would wait for everybody to stop looking at them, or her brother, or vice versa, and they would go off by themselves, and they would dig a big hole. Big hole. You'd watch them dig that hole with a full belly, regurgitate it, bury it up, look around like, I hope nobody's watching me, and they would bury it up, come back, eat every bit as much more again, and fill their bellies up again. And I'm like, he's going to do it again. Go around the other side of the truck or the other side of the house or wherever, throw that shit back up. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. Well, come to find out, I had a government job. I shot coyotes out of the helicopter, and for a lot of years, and come to find out, I pieced it all together. I'm like, why are these coyotes at 10,000, almost 12,000 feet in the middle of winter? How are they living up here? That's how they're living up there. They're digging holes back down to the caches that they had put that food in the ground all over the place, and they know where they're at because they're so smart and their noses are so good that they dig down. If they can't find the voles, they can't find the fresh food, they go back and they dig up the caches, and they go back and they fill their bodies, and they're survivors. There's a reason why crows, coyotes, and cockroaches are going to be the only things left when there's an apocalypse. And for good reason. They are by far the smartest animal on the planet, and they have all my respect.
That is wild. I never thought in a million years that is insane.
And I think that has a lot to do with trapping too. I just have pieced a lot of this stuff together. We could go on, and I might not be able to bring up all these things that I've pieced together over the years, but a bait hole to a coyote is another coyote's cache, and they're going to find it with their nose, and they'll steal it. You know, that's what they're there. They're there to survive. They don't care whose it is. They don't care whoever put it there. They're going to steal it from them. You know, a coyote's a opportunist. That's what they are. They're a survivalist. They need to eat meat, and they are hunters. Don't get me wrong. They're damn good hunters, but they're survivalists at the bottom end of it. And that's why they are everywhere, and that's why they thrive. And it's just funny that people think that the numbers of the coyotes are up and they're stealing kids off the sidewalk. It's because he fucking moved into his spot, and he thought he could take that child. And of course he's going to eat your cat and eat your small dog. That's just what they do. You moved in his backyard. Like, that's his country, you know? Yeah, you have every bit of the right to protect what's yours. Do it. I'm fine with it. But don't get all scared when a coyote grabs your cat or grabs your kid. Like, that's just what they're here to do, and that's what they do.
Oh, it's so true.
I don't have any empathy for any of that shit whatsoever. Like, none. But like today, I've had two separate ranchers call me just today and say, I need you here. And they've killed 14 sheep. This one guy had 14 sheep killed in the last little while. And I straight up told him, I says, well, what does it pay? I mean, that's the coyote's job. I mean, if you want me to come over and do my job, I'm not going to come over and do it for free. Yeah, it's fun, and this is the job that I want to do, but it's going to cost me time, money, and gas. Like, just set me up with that, and I'll take care of that problem, coyote. They can't get a government trapper to do it. They can't, It's funny, these government trappers are paid, and they're supposed to be professional hunters. There's a lot of government trappers I hunt circles around. I've been around a lot of them. And everybody thinks, oh, the government trappers are the best. Man, there's a lot of government trappers call me up on a Saturday night and ask me what they need to do. Like, they all went through, now they all have to have degrees. They all have to do this. They all have to do that. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have a base anymore like the old boys used to. They all had to learn on their own like I did. They all had to. I didn't have to learn on my own. I'm not going to say that. Like, I had other people that taught me a lot of things, but also did they. Anyway, we get off on tangents.
No, it's good. It's a good tangent, bro. It really is. I want to bring it back real quick because you had talked about how they had regurgitated their food and it's now under the ground, and then they'll go back and they'll find it. A lot of times, do you find? And one thing I kind of like, we had like a big pit of like where we did dumped carcasses and stuff in the warmer weather, where they would kind of like walk by it and leave it until that cold weather had come, and then they knew it was there, and then they would hit it. They would kind of just leave it alone. Do you find that the same with trapping? Like right now, like it's a little bit warmer, not really hitting those areas?
It's not warm here, dude. It's fucking cold as shit.
No, it's warm here, though. Like normally it is cold here. For December, it is super warm here.
So this is something that I have not been able to crush my theories about. Is why a coyote will hit and eat one cow carcass, but he won't eat another. And the only thing that I can really attribute it to is medications that they doctored that calf with. That's the only thing. But then it gets smashed. That theory also gets smashed because I have a ranch in Nevada that I've had excellent coyote hunting experiences on. Won the world championships twice. Things that I've seen out there, the loss in cattle that they have out there because the cattle ranch is such a large operation. They're doctoring these cows, and I've literally gone to the pivot and I've saw 15-year-old heifers or steers laying out there dead. And I've talked to my rancher, and he's like, Garrett, I've doctored every single one of those calves myself. And I'm like, the coyotes are devouring them in the night. So that completely just eliminates that. Like I just don't get why they pass by this and not this. It doesn't make any sense. Like you're saying, like just trapping and things like that. Like they'll walk a huge big circle around it, just look at it and leave. I mean, there's ample food and just here you go, and they just go around it and leave it. I don't know.
And then they'll walk a couple 100 yards down, and then they'll hit that trap or whatever, but they won't. It's just so weird. You see it a lot.
Yeah.
Like we'll have like I said, like a dump pit, and they literally won't touch it, and they'll just leave it, and then they'll finally hit it. And it's like, what? That's so weird.
Then you'll have a dump pit that they just they'll sit on and just be there all the time. It's crazy. I really don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah, that's totally wild. So when you go into start coyote hunting, right, and you say like this rancher calls you up and he wants you to go help, where do you start? Like what does your set look like? Like where do you?
So this set of ranchers are having the same problem within 2 miles of each other. It's pretty crazy. They don't know each other. They probably know each other, but they don't know that one another has called me. They're within a 2-mile range on a river. It's pretty funny because it's back where I used to live, where I lived my whole life. And now that I've left, they're all calling me. It's pretty funny.
Because all the coyotes come back.
They heard you moved out of town.
Because you're not killing them.
It's pretty funny, though, honestly. It's kind of like, fuckers, I told you.
Yeah.
But anyway, I ask him, what's he doing? What's his patterns? He's like, he's pretty brazen. It's definitely an adult male. He's got trail camera pictures of him. He's hitting these sheep at a certain time of night. So I collect all this information from him, and I tell him, okay, I'm going to need the sheep in this specific area, and I need you to drop me a pin, and I need you to take all those dead bodies that he didn't. I asked too. I'm like, what did he do with them when he killed them? Are you sure? I try to eliminate everything. Are you sure it's not just dogs? Because even my dogs, like, they're herding dogs, and once they figure that out and they have fun with some sheep, and sheep die easy, they're stupid. I mean, they're the dumbest animal on the planet, in my opinion.
Yeah, yard lice, we call them.
Yeah, we call them mountain maggots.
Same thing.
Yeah. So anyway, I ask him everything, and he's like, "No, it's definitely a coyote, Garrett." And I'm like, "All right, yeah, he's eating the guts, he's doing his thing, and then he's leaving. He's just killing fresh shit there's something internally that he wants. Of course, he's going to go to that first, and if every sheep leaves, he's going to devour the rest of the sheep. But he doesn't want to pick through the wool, just like you don't want to pick through the wool. I mean, he's going to eat the good shit and leave. He's going to come back the next night. So anyway, I ask him all these questions, get to the bottom of it, and then I tell him take all those that you have. We have a prevailing, majority of the time we have a south wind. I say put them upwind. I'll be downwind. I'll wait for the coyotes. Set me up, 3 bales of ton bale hay. So I'm roughly 10, 11 feet in the air. Stack them like a ladder. I'll get up there. I'll set me up basically a kill box, and I'll wait for that coyote to come in, and I'll get him killed. I won't be calling for that coyote. The coyote's way too smart for that. You're going to scare him off before anything if you do try to call this coyote. Now, a different time of the year, yeah, I will. I'll take my dogs, and we'll go do something different with that coyote, and we'll probably get him killed, But right now, we need to kill this coyote doing what he's doing and just wait him out. Just wait him out. And, there's other scenarios. Like I've had other ranchers in the past tell me that when the mama lays down, I've got a pair of coyotes coming over and pulling that calf out of her as she's giving birth to a perfectly healthy calf. And it was because those coyotes had learned that, they had learned that when she lays down to give birth, that's when she's vulnerable. She's away from the herd, off in her own little space, giving birth to her calf. They figured it out. I eliminated one of those coyotes for sure, and the problem stopped. The other coyote didn't have the balls to go in there by itself and do that. And he was very thankful, very, very appreciative of that. You know, there's just certain scenarios and certain applications that you just have to adjust to, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you think you got them figured out and they hand you your ass.
Right. They're just so smart.
Yeah.
They,
Yeah.
So, do you find that it's easier to kill them at night than it is during the day? Because like here, like we cannot night hunt here. So like these guys that are coyote hunting, they have to coyote hunt during the day.
Yeah. Yes and no. There is a huge learning curve to hunting at night with thermal. I mean, hunting with lights and things like that. Um, you know, back in the day when we used to hunt with lights, we'd just stick a Fox Pro on the back of the truck and crank it as loud as we could, drive 5 miles down the road and come back through shining the lights and kill all them road dogs that were to the road, you know. We were just looking for eyeballs and, I mean, making stands. Yeah, we would make stands. Um, you know, night hunting is its own little deal. Like, there's a lot you got to learn, especially running thermal. I mean, when I first got thermal way back, I mean, I honestly was one of the very first guys to hunt predators in the West with thermal, um, that I knew about. I'm not saying I was the very first, but the very first one on Instagram that was doing it. And I was sitting on my ass with shooting sticks like I did during the day, and I had no idea. I thought I had X-ray vision. I didn't know what thermal was. I mean, I thought I could see through bushes and see through trees, and I had no idea. No, you can't. You can't see through sagebrush. You have to be elevated. I had to learn the hard way, and that just goes back to everything that I've done predator hunting. I've had to learn the hard way, and I've taught others by my trials and tribulations, and they've been able to take it and run with it a hell of a lot faster than I was, because I had to figure it out on my own. And it is what it is. You know, I talked around. I started watching some guys back east and a few guys that were running thermal, and it gave me a little edge. And I was like, oh, there's a reason why they're on a tripod standing. I get it now, you know. And then there's a reason why the Texas boys are in the high rack. It's because they need the elevation. And so then I ended up building the truck with a high rack and doing that. And then, yeah, man, it's just night hunting isn't easier. It definitely isn't easier if you're going to go call the coyotes. But if you're just going to go road dog and run down, you know, your county road, scan out in the hayfields where the coyotes feel like they're safe in the dark, because they know they've not been shot at in the dark, because they're out in the wide ass open. Anymore around here, it's not like that anymore. The coyotes are wise to all this shit. I mean, they've figured it out. They know that they're not safe out in the open anymore. Yes, they will still go to those open spots, and they will still be in the hayfields doing what they would normally do in the night. But if they see a truck roll up and it stops, they're gone as fast as they can go. Back in the day, it wasn't like that. They would just sit there, go back to mouse and do whatever they were doing. You could have all the time in the world, shoot your road dogs. I mean, all night long. And that's what I want to tell people is all these guys that have got all these piles of coyotes and all this huge stringer. I'm 100% guilty of this. More than 50% of those coyotes were shot out the window of my truck. I mean, all these guys, big coyote hunters, big piles, big this, big that. There's a lot of behind the scenes bullshit that people want you to think that they're something that they're not.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I just want to be honest. Like, yeah, that's my gig is honesty. It always hasn't been in my past. But the Garrett now and the Garrett that's learned the hard way is a completely honest guy. So you want to know, I'll tell you.
Do you still pleasure hunt a lot, or besides outside of tournaments and nuisance, will you still just go out and go coyote hunting just for fun?
That's all I want to do anymore, and it's not a hunt for me. It's a hunt for everyone that's with me. I like to take pictures now. I bought a really, really nice camera. I enjoy being behind the lens and behind the call. That's where I want to be. And if somebody's going to talk me into going hunting and packing around a gun, I'm usually the guy with the hand call and the shotgun. That's the only place I really want.
That's how. Yeah, I agree with that. So what we've got a lot of listeners that are, very novice when it comes to calling coyotes, and have a lot of interest in maybe getting into it. So could you just take us through like just your standard coyote set? Just build a scenario and just how you would do it from the before you even get out of the truck and take us from there.
Yeah. So, do you want my novice Garrett or do you want my experienced version?
You just send it however you want to. Just spit some knowledge of the boys.
Okay, so my experienced version. Well, no, let's do novice version first. So, being a guy that doesn't know shit, man, I would just go out and I would sit high up on a hill, get elevated, and look out over a valley of sage and call it. I mean, and that's how you need to start out. I feel like the guy that's been around, he pulls up. I pull up into a spot. I already know there's coyotes there. That's the first thing. People need to know that there's coyotes in the area.
No.
Another good thing to know is, have those coyotes been called? Is that public? Is that private? How pressured are these coyotes is another really good thing to know.
Real quick, I hate to interrupt you, but knowing there's
No, I knew you wanted to talk. You're good.
Knowing there's coyotes there, are you scouting on foot for scat and tracks? Are you locating the night before with howls, or what's your go-to for knowing there's coyotes there?
No, a lot of mine is just, so going back to the novice, was being in the hills, seeing the coyotes, hearing the coyotes, seeing their droppings, trapping, other things, just knowing that there was coyotes there. Whether it be on foot, whether it be on my snowmobile, whether it be on my horse, anywhere. I was always looking for tracks and sign, and the majority of your tracks and your sign for coyotes are going to be in your lowland country in the western United States. They're going to be, I don't know what the layout and stuff is like for you guys, but our coyotes like around the agriculture. Yeah, there's coyotes everywhere, but the majority of them are down in the agriculture, down in the sage, down in the desert. That's where you're going to find the highest densities of coyotes. So that's where I would start. I wished I could be more help for your guys out there as far as food plots and things like that. Coyotes are always usually going to come to a corner. They're going to shit on the corner. They're going to mark their territory on certain things. That's a good spot to be if you're going to piss the coyote off with, a dog or, vocalizations or something like that. But as far as just somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, the best thing that they could do would be to not spend a lot of money, get a pair of wood dowels and put some rubber band on them, get you some shooting sticks, whether you have shooting sticks or not. Keep it really basic at first. Make sure you like it. Get you a hand call and go out into a spot that you know that there's coyotes, and preferably into a spot that's private with virgin-eared coyotes. And then go in there and take your time getting in there and look at the lay and make sure you're downwind. Just do all the basics. All of the basics is going to be their best bet. And make a stand for 15 minutes and sit down. If you got more time and more patience, then sit there a little bit longer. I just don't have those patience. I never did. Don't shoot at the jackrabbit that sits out there at 200 yards after you got done blowing your call. That's just going to ruin everything for you that you've worked for. And I had to learn that the hard way because I wanted to pull the trigger on my rifle. I was 14, 15, 16 years old, and I wanted to pull the trigger. And that's what everyone does. They're all weekend warriors, and they go out there and no coyotes come to the call, and they see a jackrabbit, boop, 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 stop, poach up. Hey, Johnny, you think you can hit that? Fuck yeah. Well, there was 3 coyotes out 500 yards watching them do it, and they're educated now. Mm-hmm. So don't go in there doing that dumb stuff, leave just the same way you walked into it. And then treat your I've always said this, treat your last stand as you did your first. Have all the ambition and all of your butterflies. Try to keep your butterflies and everything all the way through the whole day, even if you're having an unsuccessful day, because what's going to happen is you're going to let your guard down and you're going to be sitting there, and then all of a sudden that coyote's going to run you over, and then you're going to be pissed because he's going to take you out. He's going to take you off your feet, when you're least expecting it. That's when they're going to show up. So that's the best advice I could give, is treating your last stand just like you did your first.
All right, now I want to hear the advanced Garrett style of a hunt. That's what I really want to hear.
Jeez, man, it's very similar. It's just the knowledge of what I'm seeing walking in. It's really actually kind of hard to explain. There's stands that I've called my whole life. I've got them marked, and there's still brass, and there's still shotgun shells, and there's things. And then one day, even this year, I just knew that I had to hit these coyotes at a different angle. I mean, they're very wise, and they're very call shy, and they're very they're just really smart coyotes, and I know it, and I know how to kill them. But I knew I had to kill them a different way that day, and that's the advance. That's knowing what I needed to do that day to be successful. And it was walk an extra 100 yards, and it was go to a different hill that I was uncomfortable with, that they normally come from, that I'm normally looking at. Now I'm in a whole different zone. Getting my wind so giving the coyote more of an advantage is an advanced Garrett, is because I can capitalize by giving him a little bit more of an advantage than I used to, because I am more knowledgeable on what to do in that situation by giving him that advantage. So if I give him that advantage, he's more at ease when he's coming to that call. He's got thicker brush to go through. He's got not this big clearing that I want to watch him come through and have this picture perfect thing. Sorry, boys.
You're
I
good.
don't know what that is. But I'm gonna give him a way to sweep around me and feel comfortable coming to that call. Like, does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The advanced Garrett is gonna give the coyote the advantage.
Right.
And that's what tickles me, is still being. That's not me. That's
Spam.
Sorry, boys.
You're good.
That's my fiance's sister calling her. I guess it's showing up on the computer.
Oh,
But
so more or less,
anyway.
you're giving them the like in the big deer woods, in the New England deer woods, you're giving them like a quartering wind, or you're trying to make it good for the coyote, but still make it good for you in the same aspect.
She'll make it so I can be successful, but that's the advanced Garrett. That's not tournament Garrett. That's Garrett going out pleasure hunting, taking somebody, or just pleasure hunting by myself when I'm very successful alone.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like to do. I like to hunt alone like that, usually. Like, that's what still gets Garrett's heart pumping. That's, other than watching that big fluffy coyote come across that with me with a camera, honestly, I can barely hold a camera still anymore, because that's what really jacks me up now. Mm-hmm. I went on a great hunt with my really good friend Tyler Blades the other day, and he was teasing me because he's like, Garrett, you got to shoot one of these coyotes, because we were calling and killing a lot of coyotes. Well, he was, and he's like, you got to kill one of these coyotes. And I'm like, dude, I don't even care. Like, I just want to sit back with the camera. And it was kind of funny because I was teaching him a little bit of patience, and it was some of them weren't working out. They were running off on us and stuff, and it was kind of funny to see his face after they would run off by me telling him, wait, just let me get a good picture. Wait, And so that's what gets me jacked up. But other than that, giving the coyote the advantage, having my shotgun and my rifle, and kind of going back to the basics of Garrett, is hunting alone, and just enjoying, I enjoy having my dogs on stand year round now. I've got my dogs trained where if I don't want them running out there chasing off the pups, you know, because the pups aren't going to want to take on. You got to find the right coyote that's going to decoy your dog this time of year, and I've done that. You know, it wasn't, but maybe a month ago, my stepson and I were sitting there with two of my really good friends and his son that had never seen decoy, and they're like, I'm like, dude, it can happen. Let's try it. They're like, we really want to see it. I'm like, this isn't a perfect time of the year. Well, we found the right coyote. We found the right coyote, and he decoyed like crazy, and they got to see something they'd never seen. They enjoyed it, and my stepson missed the coyote at 80 yards after he had decoyed 40 times, and he hit the smile on his face and the disgust in his self for missing that coyote and everything. It was just what I live for. That's what I want to do, and that's where I want to be, and that's what really gets me. That's what gets me going.
So I want to talk to us a little bit about this decoying, the dog decoying, because that's a whole different world. Like, you hear of some guys, like we have some local dudes that, like, literally during the mating season, they'll have their dog chained up next to them or whatever, and then they'll come in and they'll see the dog or whatever. But that's not what you're doing at all.
Oh, no. So a government trapper taught me how to do it a long time ago. And I was just like, why? What is going on? You know, it took me a lot of years to figure out what was clicking in the coyote's head. Even after he had told me, I'm like, you know, he would only go out during denning season, and he knew where the dens of coyotes were, and that's something we do around here is den coyotes. We dig up the dens and we kill the puppies, and there's a $50 bounty on them. So in my thought, when I did that back in the day, I don't do it anymore because I just don't have the heart for it. But there was a brand new rifle at the bottom of that hole. You know what I mean? If I dug that hole up and killed those pups, I could go buy ammunition. I could go buy myself a brand new rifle off of one hole, you know? And so I did that. And anyway, decoy dogging just, yeah, it just became a passion of mine. I ended up having a great relationship, great friendship with Seth Simpson, and he was he was big into labs and bird dogs and things like that. But he had an Idaho shag, Ringo. Ringo's still alive, and he's the dad to my best bitch. And he and I actually got going into it pretty hot and heavy because he knew I loved it and wanted to do it. And I ended up getting a dog from him, and we went out a bunch. And I had a good friend here, Kelly Oppenheimer, that had a really good cur dog that showed me, and I videoed it and put it on my Coyote Sniper YouTube channel, and had a lot of good views and things off of that. And it just snowballed like anything else. You know, we just got into it, got deep, and got going with it, and just loved it. And I got my own dogs, and now I got 5 out there right now, you know, and it's just, I just love it. I love it. That's what I really, really want to do now. You know, it's either the camera and the dogs, the camera and the dogs. That's what I want. That's what I want to do. And it's kind of funny, you know, because I'll go out with my damn air rifle trying to kill one in the eyeball with my dogs, you know, like I just love it. Like any sort of thing to challenge it up just a little bit for me.
Just bring it back a little bit more primal.
Yeah, just something it's just too easy to pick up my rifle and shoot a coyote. Like, that's just not, I don't know. I just want to give the coyote the advantage. And dogging is just so fun for a camera. And it's so fun to just enjoy, because once you get those coyotes to engage and lock onto your dogs, hell, you can basically get up and do some jumping jacks if you want. The coyote could care less. He'll go downwind of you in the right circumstances, in the right coyotes. They're there to protect their puppies and their ground no matter what. They're going to do it at all costs. They don't care if they smell or see a human. They're there for one purpose, and it's to run those coyotes, or what they think, other canines, out of their country. And man, to watch them gristle up and just come in guard hair screaming, just rah! It's the best, man. That's what gets me fired up. I could sit there and watch it all day long.
That's why. So your dogs are off leash and they go after the coyotes where the dens are and whatever else, and then they bring them right back to you. That's how that works.
Well, my dogs are a cow-bred dog, so I don't have my dogs trained to go to a howl. So the guy I learned with or started really getting into it, Kelly Oppenheimer, he has a dog. Her name's Cody. She's on some of my very first videos of the Coyote Sniper. And as long as you could get those coyotes to howl and Cody could hear them, she would leave and go get those coyotes. And then you would tone her back with the radio collar and they would come back. That's not, I really like that. Don't get me wrong. I really like Cody's style. I wished I could have Cody style and shag dog style, which is cowbred dog, basically making sure I'm okay. That's a cow dog's goal, is to make sure that I'm okay. So they know that I like them to play with the coyotes and do what they're going to do, but they're always going to come back and check on me. It's, that's what they're doing. They're basically keeping the coyote away from me, essentially.
Okay.
And I like that. I really like the cowbred dog for that reason, and my dogs for that reason, because the show is put on right in front of me. It's not put on 1,000 yards out, 500 yards out, where I'm watching through binoculars and possibly getting that dog in a lot of trouble. I mean, honestly, we had eight coyotes show up on Cody one day, and I took Kelly into one of my very best spots. I took Kelly into a lot of my very best spots, and he was just blown away by the amount of coyotes that were in these spots. And I was just blown away by the reactions and the amount of coyotes that we were killing in these spots. And I was just like, the one day when I got it all on video, and I made Colton edit all of it out because you could tell where I was. And these guys around here were watching my YouTube and they were figuring out where I was hunting. And that's why I kind of went away from all that, because it meant more for me to keep my country than it did to show other what I love. And I still have the raw cut somewhere. I need to post it, because now it's kind of funny. There's actually a pig farm there on my best stand. Like it's really funny, because now going back, there's pig farm, and there's my stand's no longer there. The coyotes are still there, but my stand's no longer there. But anyway, those 8 coyotes showed up on her, and we had her and her only on that stand, and she was getting pinned up against the sagebrush. And like I said, she was so far out that I ended up on video. I said, Kelly, we got to get up. She's in trouble. We got to get her. They're going to tear her in half. And they started pulling her in half, and she fought them off really good. It was super scary for me. And Kelly was like, oh shit, she'll be fine. And I'm like, fuck you, dude. Them dogs are going to tear her a new ass. And she was bit all over her hind quarter and whatnot. And anyway, back to that is the reason why I don't like that is because you could get a dog hurt. You can get a dog in a lot of trouble if you're just running one dog. When you have 2, I feel like minimum of 2 is what you should hunt with. And anything after that, you're good. It takes a lot of pressure off of all the other dogs. Usually they all kind of work together. It's instinctual for my dogs. I really can't say I trained them or did shit for them, really. I mean, I just took them out, showed them a coyote, and they just know. It's just the craziest thing. And then my Razzie dog, my best bitch that has had all my pups, just her nose and her ability to find it. It took Razzie a lot of years to turn on and come on to the whole thing of what I was wanting her to do. Wounded coyotes in the night, hunting with thermal and watching her work with her nose, and then catching that coyote and baying it up, and then having that application happen during the day. I mean, it puts a smile on my face that fucking Mike Tyson couldn't punch off. I mean, it is something else. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't even care. Like, it's like, I get shook, and, I get big chills on my arms, and I'm just like, she comes in, she gets a steak that night, she lays on the couch, and she's right there with me. Her and I just get pumped about it. She's just wagging her tail, just loving everything. They just love to please. They're people pleasers, and that's why I love that breed, because they just do it right in front of you. So the way I go about it is I call the coyotes in, and then my dogs are usually bebopping around, marking some territory, doing whatever, just checking on me and sniffing around, hunting, doing whatever. They're playing, fighting. And then the coyote sees them. And then once the coyote sees them and they see the coyote, typically it's on. In that time of the year, in that application, it's usually we've started decoying now. But you will have a coyote show up multiple times. A coyote will show up and you'll see it. Your dogs don't see it because they don't have binoculars, and they'll see it. And the coyote will be coming in, and then the coyote will lay down, and they'll lay down in the grass, and they'll just watch your dogs. And that's the less aggressive coyote. That's just a year-old coyote. That's a pup coyote. That's just a coyote that doesn't have anything to prove, doesn't want to run you out of there. It's just basically curious. And there's so many different types of coyotes. I mean, I could just go through a million different types of coyotes, and it's just like a million different types of regular dogs. I mean, you've got your pit bulls, you've got your Labradors, you've got all these different breeds, and it's no different with a coyote. You get the dirty, rankest, meanest bastards, and then you get the one that'll just barely even get like a little bit of a flesh wound, and that sucker will lay on his side and just cry like crazy. I mean, it's crazy. And then you have that one that just has every limb blown off of it because you couldn't make a clean shot, and that son of a bitch is running away on its nubs. It's just the difference in the coyote.
For sure.
Just that's all there is to it. So
The old warriors.
I love. What's that?
The old warriors with no teeth and just savage little gremlins, dude. Yep.
I've seen the young dogs be like that, just be complete and utter savages. And then I've seen the older ones that I've killed or wounded and been around, and they just don't have the will to live. Like some of them have a will to live like you wouldn't believe. I mean, I've got stories. So I could go on and on and on about the will to live about a coyote. So, yeah.
That's awesome. No, it's so cool. It's it's cool to kind of dive into your world and how you know a lot about coyotes, like a metric ton that probably people couldn't even scratch the surface on, honestly.
Yeah, I'm not going to pat my back, but I honestly feel like I forgot a lot more about coyotes than a lot of these kids know. I've taught a lot. I've taught a lot of shit. I have taught and took the learning curve down on a lot of people's hunts, honestly, and as have other people for me.
Right.
I mean, definitely, 100%. I didn't figure this all out on my own. I figured a lot out on my own, but I definitely had to be taught a lot of this.
I think our generation. Like we had to learn it all on our own. There wasn't social media. There wasn't YouTube. There wasn't, when we were growing up and kids, there wasn't podcasts. There wasn't. These guys are light years ahead of where we were when we had started. We had the woodsmanship and had to learn and fail and snap our hands in traps and fucking everything else before you could actually learn how to do it. Like, oh, don't put your hand in an MB550. It's gonna hurt. And we would be like, what is this? Just stupid shit all the time. Just constant.
I didn't think you guys were that old. My hell, I got more gray hair than both of you guys combined.
Well, we're a little bit younger than you, but still in that era of
old enough to know.
Yeah, you just had to learn it.
It seems like a lot of times with today's generation is they know it all because they've read it or absorbed it, but they lack of experience. They can regurgitate something that they were told, but
exactly.
There's not enough actual field experience and seeing it with their own eyes and speaking from experience.
It's everything though, like we did. I've done everything. I feel like I fished and I love fishing. I was passionate about fishing. I was passionate about duck hunting. I was passionate about goose hunting, like everything to get my woodsmanship. Like I feel like I have the badge now. You know what I mean? Finally, like Scout's honor, I got that sumbitch. Finally, somebody gave it to me. You know what I mean? And you're saying it right. They're not earning it.
That's so true. They're not, because they're hearing the information, they're going out and doing it, but they're not doing it and learning it. They're just doing it and succeeding. You know what I'm saying? They're not failing 100 times. They're going out and shooting a 150-inch buck. They're not going and failing and missing and fucking up, and it's just not happening, dude. They're just
they got a lot of technology. I mean, still to this day, I pride myself in not dialing a scope. I mean, out in the West out here, that's a huge thing. Dial your scope, kill that sumbitch at 1,500 yards. I don't do that. I don't shoot at coyotes unless they're under 300 yards. Like, there's no purpose. I'm not going to hit that sumbitch. Like, there's a lot of guys that kill that coyote 500 yards. No, that's not to me a called-in coyote. A called-in coyote is something that is committed to your call, something that is coming to you, and some reason why, why it's coming to you, and that just never did anything for me, really. I mean,
right. I laugh because we are. I don't think there's anywhere I could see 300 yards where I live. I mean, I'm lucky to see a coyote at 100 yards.
Yeah, man, you're killing coyotes at 50, 60, 100 yards.
Who knows how many we call in that we never even see?
Yeah.
Probably.
Me and my buddy were talking about that the other day. Just like, well, I wonder what the percentage is of, like, just if you could just have a 360-degree angle on what you've done over your life and what looked at you from behind or over there that you didn't see. It's just, I feel like 85 to 90% of the time a coyote hears you. I'm not saying he's coming to you or saw you. He heard you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
We've got
it's pretty wild, but
we've got a healthy population. So, like you said, like if I go out and make a blank set, I go back to the chart. I'm like, there ain't no way that fell on deaf ears. Like, there's definitely something heard that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's eerie, but it's cool.
Yeah,
it definitely is.
So I have I don't know if the timeline matches up. So you hunted nationals. And I know you're a big fan of Les Johnson. Did you hunt nationals against Les?
I never got to. I never got to compete against Les Johnson, unfortunately.
You're a little after him.
Yeah, I am. The first time I ever competed in nationals, I won it, and that was in 2018.
Wow.
Now, what? Tell us about a little bit of, like, how you went from a pleasure hunter to taking the leap to say I'm going to nationals.
I was always a tournament hunter early on. I had a good partner, Riley Rose and Brian Morrill. I actually hunted worlds really early. I found out how to get into worlds, and for some reason nationals just never really lined up for me. Timelines and whatnot, really not knowing the layout of Wyoming is what it boiled down to. And then when I got the partner and reached out to Colton Gillum, his knowledge of Wyoming and him knowing how to get around that state is unmatched by anybody in that state. Guaranteed he can get around that state and knows more crevices and cracks than anybody that lives there. And the kid's 27, 28 years old, something like that. And once Colton and I became really good friends and started talking about these tournaments and doing these things, I had him come out to a couple of my tournaments and whatnot. And we decided to do nationals. We thought that we had the ground to compete, and well, he did, and ended up, asking a favor of a friend and doing it and getting on some private land and getting some virgin coyote ears, and we went there and we dominated. We did excellent, and that's why I decided to go to nationals and compete in nationals. Is when I decided I felt like I had a chance. There's no reason for me to go back east with you guys and just get smoked. I don't need to go out there and do that. I've always been a guy that's always said, you and I are, I'm not better than you. I was better than you that day in that tournament, and I had better country than you, and we shot better than you, but I'm not better coyote hunter than you. I just had better ground. I shot better, and we had better luck. Do I know how to hunt coyotes better than you? The top 10 guys that are at these tournaments? Absolutely not. No way. I have better ground than them. You know what I mean? That's all it boils down to. And that, back to the honesty thing. A lot of guys won't say that. A lot of guys, their pride, they just walk around, like this, and they want to be something that they're not, and what it boils down to is that, and they don't have the balls to say it. They don't have the balls to say that you and I are equal. Like, to them, they'll always be better than the other guy, and to me, I'll always be an equal. And I think that that's what makes me better, is because I can understand that we are equals. I just have better ground than you that day. I just shot better than you that day.
I think you just hit the nail on the head with a lot of people in the outdoor world, honestly, dude.
Not just coyotes either.
Not just coyotes either, dude. But it's so true that
it's all a pissing match. It's all who's got the bigger dick. That's all it boils down to. That's it. And the guys that are like that, good on you, but I'll be the first to admit that I'm not better than anybody. I'm better than you that day.
I think it takes a real man to say that, honestly.
Yeah, man, I've come a long ways, man. I've been through a lot of shit in my days, honestly. You guys don't even have a long enough podcast to go through.
Man, we might have to bring part two one of these days.
Right? The real look into Garrett Johnson.
A lot of life lessons have taught me that, and that was, coming to the grips that is the case. Has definitely made me a better man and a better everything in life.
For sure. That's crazy. Hey, Garrett, our final question for you, man, is what drives you outdoors?
What drives me outdoors? My dogs. Seeing the glow in a new hunter's face when I take them out and I show them the things that used to make my face glow like that. When I see that, that's what drives me outdoors. That's what gets me going. That's what gets me out of bed early. That's what keeps me wanting to go out there and do what I do, is showing, whether it be the young guy, like my I call him, it's weird to call him my stepson. He's tracking. He's just a kid that has always loved the outdoors. Still does. His dad's huge into the outdoors. I don't try to take any of that away from his father. But there are things that I can show him that his dad can, and showing him what I've learned over the years and seeing that he actually loves it, and watching me trap and watching the way that I trap different than his dad and his grandpa. That's what drives me outdoors. That's what gets me going. That's it. Watching my dogs and watching them and their smiles. When my dog smiles at me, the goosebumps, I'm getting them right now. When my dog smiles at me, man, it's the coolest shit. It's no different than a human. It really isn't. It's the neatest shit ever. When your dog comes back and is just like, like, man, we did it, didn't we, Daddy? We did it. I love it, man. It just gets me fired up. That's what gets me up there.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. No, it's so true, though. The dog thing, like, I think every outdoorsman should have a trained dog for the outdoors, no matter what it is, because it changes your perspective on the outdoors tremendously. Yeah. Tremendously.
Oh, dude. Yeah, back in the day, it was my labs. It was watching them retrieve a duck, watching them break through the ice to get to that duck, and then come back and do the same thing that my shag dogs are doing. They were smiling at me. And I wasn't, I was a young kid. I didn't understand that. Now I understand. I understand a lot more. And just to see that is like, it's crazy. It's what drives me.
It's nuts because you go in this big circle, right? Like, you start as a young kid and you're just out there doing it. You're just shooting everything. You crazy. You're like just savage. Like, fuck it. I'm going to kill everything. Like we say, the killers are going to kill. Like, man, you're just nuts. Like, you're just nuts. And then you get to like that trophy stage in your life where you just you want to shoot big animals and you're just like, all right, this is cool. And then you kick back, like in some things, like for me, it's turkey hunting, where I just sit back. I just want to bring 1,000 people out. I want to see their smile. I want to film them. and just love it and just take it all in all at once. Like you go through this motion in the outdoors, like you just
100%.
And you don't care.
100%.
And it's amazing, dude. When you get to that level, dude, and you can just throw your hands back and you're like, I made it, dude. I made it. This is awesome. You know, it's I don't know, but there's still some days in my life that I want to kill everything, though. I don't get it twisted, dude.
Well, that's what coyotes are made for.
It's definitely driven by my attitude that day. Like if I'm having it's if I'm having a bad day, I just want to go shoot something in the face.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know, but then there's days that I walk up on a trap and I've got this old just bitchin' looking coyote, you know, that's just like, how did you catch me? Like he looks at me like, how did you do this? I've been out here for so many years. And honestly, I look at him now and I'm like, damn, bro, if you just hold still for 2 seconds, I'll let you out of there. You know, like that goes through my head. Like I caught you. I did what you're not hurting anything out here. You're just being a coyote, you know, you're not causing any trouble. You know, I'm trapping in your living room.
Right.
You know, now I think to myself, God, if you wouldn't bite me, I'd let you out of that sumbitch and just watch you run off, you know?
Live to catch you another day.
Yeah. I'm weird these days, man. I'm 110% just flip the switch. I don't know what's the matter with me, man. I'll cry over the dumbest shit.
So did you let him out? No.
I've yet to let a coyote out of the trap. I will let certain things out, but the dogs are relatively close, and it's usually a training aspect.
Yeah.
Do they still have a bounty out there? You still getting 50 a pop, or?
Yeah.
Wow. So you get to keep the fur too and get 50?
Yeah, there's years, you know, we can turn that coyote into $100 coyote or an $80 coyote pretty easy.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
That's absolutely cool.
I wish our state would do that, but they're too poor to pay us $50.
Yeah.
It's not that cool. Don't do that to yourselves, because then you get a whole bunch of people that think it's cool.
Yeah.
Then the crowds come behind it, because then they think that they can do the same thing that you've been doing for 10 years.
Well, then you get the goddamn crackhead out there that needs a bump of meth, and he's out there trying to bust everything that runs across the road, man. It's
educating everything.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ, I never thought of that.
We'll have to end it on that note. Garrett, why don't you tell everybody, man, where they can find you, dude, and they can follow along with kind of your journeys and what you got going on?
My personal journal right on Instagram. I've definitely pulled back on reins, posting a lot of my hunting stuff and a lot of my killing that I do. If I posted, it's because it was something that was special to me, and a lot of times I don't even write about it. I just know about it because of the picture that I posted.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a target on your head, so anything I say or do is going to be portrayed and miscued, and it's kind of really put a bad taste in my mouth. So I kind of just stay humble and stay to myself, and really just post very little. But if people want to find me, it's Brush Wolf Hunter on Instagram. So just Garrett Johnson, you can find me. I'm usually right there at the top. Used to have a big engagement and big following, and everything's kind of died off because I died off. I pulled back, so everybody else pulled back. It's funny because they're always in my views, but they're never in my likes.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
know it all too well.
Yeah, I've got those guys, and that's where I'm at. I just got Instagram, and that's it.
That's awesome, Garrett. We really appreciate it, man. It was a great podcast, and we can't thank you enough for joining us.
Yeah, man, you guys are fun. I've been doing a lot of podcasts lately. I actually did another one last night, and this one's been a refreshing. It's nice to be able to be myself and talk like I normally do. Sometimes it's pretty foul, but in the most part, I've got good intentions behind everything that I do and say.
Hey, the good thing about the podcast is you can just hit the pause button or the stop button and move on in your own way if they don't like the way that we do things around here.
There you go, man. That's it. I wish more people would do that.
Well, for everybody else, thanks for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.